Hi, K-pop lovers. Welcome back to our channel. Before we get into everything, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now, smash the like button, drop a comment below telling me your thoughts, and share this video with your K-pop friends. Because trust me, you do not want them missing this one. Okay. Now let's get into it. Wait. Before you scroll past this video, I need you to stop right there. Because what I'm about to lay out is something the entire K-pop internet has been debating for over a year, and honestly, it's time someone finally told the full truth. The question everyone keeps asking, is AHYEON from babymonster actually the new JENNIE? And more importantly, is that even a fair comparison to make? Stick with me until the very end, because the answer is going to be a lot more interesting, and a lot more complicated, than you think. Let's start where this whole story begins. Because if you want to understand why this comparison even exists, you need to understand what JENNIE built, and just how massive that foundation really is. When JENNIE debuted with Blackpink in 2016, she didn't just debut as an idol. She debuted as a full package: the voice, the rap, the stage command, and above everything else, the fashion instinct that felt like it came from a different planet. The industry noticed fast. In 2017, just 1 year after her debut, Chanel came knocking, and this was during the era of the legendary Karl Lagerfeld himself. She was named Chanel's Korean ambassador, and from that point forward the nickname was born, Human Chanel. Not because she wore the brand constantly, but because she became the brand. She embodied Chanel's DNA so completely that the two felt like the same thing. By 2019, she was elevated to global ambassador, one of the most powerful fashion titles any artist on earth can hold. A single appearance at a Chanel show reportedly generated $3.6 million in media impact value. Her campaigns helped boost Chanel's sales in South Korea by 30% and profits by a staggering 66% in a single year. Let that number sink in. One woman. 1 year. 66% profit growth. That is the JENNIE effect, and that is the legacy attached to the Human Chanel title. It wasn't given. It was earned, slowly, over years of showing up and proving that the fashion world and the K-pop world could exist in the same body. And here's what makes JENNIE's story even more relevant to what we're talking about today. By the time babymonster was preparing to debut, JENNIE was brought in as a guest mentor for the group's pre-debut evaluation series called Last Evaluation. And what happened in that room is something every single person talking about this comparison needs to know. JENNIE watched the candidates perform. She watched AHYEON. And then she said, openly and directly, that AHYEON was the most talented member among all the candidates. The woman who built the Human Chanel legacy looked at this teenage trainee and said, she has the most. That is not a PR soundbite. That is one of the most credible endorsements you can get in the K-pop industry, a direct, face-to-face evaluation from a senior who has been through the exact same machine and knows exactly what it takes. JENNIE didn't say AHYEON was promising. She didn't say she had potential. She said she was the most talented. Full stop. And that single moment is the match that lit the entire Little JENNIE conversation on fire. Now, who exactly is this girl that JENNIE praised so highly? AHYEON is babymonster's main vocalist, lead rapper, lead dancer, visual, and center. In YG's own words, through founder Jang Hyun-suk himself, she is a warrior with many weapons, someone so complete across every discipline that it's genuinely hard to believe. She ranked first in the final evaluation among all babymonster candidates. First. Not second. Not close. First. And the raw proof of that talent was already spreading before she ever officially debuted. Her pre-debut cover of Charlie Puth's Dangerously went viral on YouTube, accumulating nearly 40 million views. When Charlie Puth himself discovered it, he responded with 3 words, "I loved it." And that moment of genuine artistic recognition from an international pop songwriter eventually led to him giving babymonster the song, Like That, ahead of their debut album. A trainee. Still not yet officially debuted. And already receiving songs from Grammy-recognized artists because her voice moved people that deeply. That is not idol training. That is genuine artistry. So why does the comparison to Jennie keep coming up? Because it's not just about looks, even though many fans and netizens have noted real visual similarities, the shoulder line, the posture, the effortless cool in the way she carries herself. The comparison runs deeper than that. Think about it, both are YG artists. Both are considered the center and face of their groups. Both are rappers and strong vocalists simultaneously, a rare combination that very few idols genuinely pull off at a high level. Their vocal tones carry a similar husky, textured quality. Their stage presence radiates the same magnetic effortlessness, the kind of cool that looks uncontrived even when it's clearly the product of years of brutal training. Their fashion instincts both lean toward street meets luxury, neutral-heavy aesthetics with an edge. And crucially, AHYEON herself confirmed that Jennie is her idol. At a media event following babymonster's official debut in April 2024, when journalists directly asked her about the Little Jennie nickname, she didn't deflect. She didn't seem uncomfortable. She said clearly, "Jennie Sunbeam has been my idol since my trainee days. She has given me the greatest inspiration as a role model. To be called Little Jennie is an honor." And then, and this is the line that matters, she added, "As a junior, I want to become an artist who finds her own unique color." She's not chasing the comparison. She's honoring the inspiration while making clear she intends to walk her own path. And that path? It's already making serious noise. During Sheesh promotions, AHYEON's rap section was specifically praised by producers including Dog from Big Hit, the man behind some of the biggest BTS records in history, who called it a standout performance. babymonster's full-length album Drip, released in November 2024, charted on the US Billboard 200. In 2025, the group launched their first world tour, Hello Monsters, across Asia, the United States, and Japan. This is not a rookie group finding their footing. This is a group with AHYEON at the center already performing at a level that takes most acts years to reach. But here is where I want to slow down, because this is the most important part of this entire conversation, and it's the part most people skip over. The AHYEON is the new Jennie narrative, as exciting as it is actually doing a disservice to both women. Here's why. Jennie's human Chanel status wasn't handed to her. It wasn't manufactured by a PR team or a styling department. It was the result of nearly a decade of relentless consistency, in music, in fashion, in cultural presence, in the way she evolved as a public figure year after year after year. She became a global Chanel ambassador. She appeared on Time's 100 Most Influential People list. She is the most followed Korean individual on Instagram. These things don't happen because someone is stylistically similar to a brand. They happen because someone becomes undeniable to the entire world over a long period of time. AHYEON has been officially active for barely over a year. To crown her as the new Jennie right now is both premature and, honestly, unfair, because it erases the decade of work Jennie put in, and it puts a ceiling on AHYEON before she's even had the chance to discover what her actual ceiling is. Some Korean netizens pushed back on the comparison for a different reason, arguing that YG's styling team was deliberately dressing AHYEON in a visual language similar to Jennie's, creating the comparison artificially rather than letting it emerge naturally from who AHYEON actually is. And that's a legitimate critique worth sitting with. Because if AHYEON's Jennie-coded image is being engineered by the company rather than coming from her own authentic expression, then what fans are falling for isn't AHYEON's identity, it's YG's marketing strategy wearing AHYEON's face. The question of where the line is between genuine artistic similarity and deliberate corporate positioning is one that doesn't have an easy answer. But it's a question worth asking. Here's the truth, and I'll say it plainly, without the noise. AHYEON is not the new Jennie. She is not a replacement, not a copy, not a successor to a throne. What she is someone who, even in this early stage, carries a level of raw talent and natural presence that genuinely echoes why the world fell for Jennie in the first place. The parallel isn't about imitation. It's about the fact that both women came out of the same training environment carrying a similar artistic philosophy, the belief that being an idol means being a complete artist, not just a performer. They are different people, with different stories, at wildly different stages of their careers. But the reason this comparison exists, and refuses to go away, is because the talent is real, the presence is undeniable, and great artists, regardless of generation, tend to recognize each other. Jennie saw it in AHYEON before any fan did. And that, more than any styling choice or visual comparison, is the most telling thing about where AHYEON might be headed. Jennie spent a decade building a legacy that the world now calls Human Chanel. AHYEON just started writing her first chapter. The real question was never whether she's the new Jennie. The real question is what AHYEON will build that is entirely, completely, unmistakably her own. And based on everything we've seen so far, I think that story is going to be one of the most fascinating things in K-pop for years to come. And honestly, I cannot wait to watch it unfold. That is everything for today, and if you made it all the way to the end, you are an absolute legend. Thank you so much for watching. Now go ahead and smash that like button if this gave you something to think about. Leave a comment below. Are you Team Jennie, Team AHYEON, or do you think this whole comparison is completely unfair to both of them? I genuinely want to read every single one. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with your K-pop crew because this is a conversation worth having. New content drops every week. See you in the next one. AHYEON.